In this video, I'm going to teach you how to be a constant content creator. And if you want to be a leader, you have to be able to create content. It's what people are demanding, it's what they're thirsting for. But not this intellectual assembly line, like convenient, easy way to create content. That'll just make you sound like everybody else. I want to teach you how to be an inside out constant content creator. And that right there will create the distinction and the uniqueness that you need to get eyeballs and to get attention and to get loyalty and to get clients. It's really relevant nowadays that you create content. You know, I think we live in a content world. I think I'd say about 15 years ago, there was this phrase called content is king. And then we moved away from this idea of content is king because what happened, and I'm speaking specifically in the coaching industry right now, because I'm an old dude when it comes to the coaching industry, right? I've been in here 15 plus years. I'm not one of the OGs, I would say, not one of the originals, but I've been around for a long time. I've seen the industry change in many ways. I've seen the pendulum swing back and forth a few times. And more importantly than that, I've seen humans change inside of the industry, because it's not really relevant about how the industry changes, how the platforms change, how the technology changes. What's relevant is how are the humans changing? How are the human clients changing, right? The way people buy is different now than it was 3 years ago. And it's way different than it was 10 years ago. And a lot of people's understanding, like if you want to be a coach, a lot of coaches' understanding about the industry, about what to do in the industry, about how to sell, about how to create content is literally obsolete because it's based on what was relevant 10 years ago or what was relevant 5 years ago. And so if I'm going to say something that's, you know, somewhat blunt, and I don't mean for it to be a buzzkill, I actually mean for it to be empowering, but it's real for a lot of people. If you're trying to get the confidence to do something you wanted to do 5 years ago, it's too late. It's not too late for you to get in motion, but it's too late for that thing. For many of us, it's like we're talking about a different world, right? Now, you might still have the same internal thing to get over that you had back then, right? If it's a fear of visibility, let's say, if it's confidence around seeing yourself on camera, confidence around sales, or confidence around something like that, it could still be an internal thing that was relevant back then and it's relevant now still. But the external things, right? Like how to sell on social media, or how to do social media, or how to do videos. A lot of those things that a lot of people are trying to solve are irrelevant and obsolete problems now. But when we entered the conversation, it was like 5 years ago. And so we stay stuck in trying to solve the problems that we had 5 years ago, or the way that we wanted to solve them 5 years ago, or who we were 5 years ago. And a lot of us are stuck on an earlier version of ourselves. And so even if we solve the problems that the earlier version of ourself had, it's not the problems that the current version of ourself has, or the solutions that the current version of ourselves needs. It's not the current path. And so a lot of us don't stay current with ourselves. We don't stay current with ourselves. It's not that we don't stay current with the market, although that's a challenge too, or we don't stay current with technology. A lot of us don't stay current with ourselves. That has many open doors to explore. How do we stay current with ourselves? that thought just like sat me down for a moment. It just like literally took my breath away for a moment. I was having this conversation with my daughter actually just earlier today, and we were talking about uh, I don't remember the exact details of why this analogy showed up. It might come to me, it might not. But I was telling her that I had this vision as she was saying what she was saying about, or a vision of us on this moving walkway, right? Like if you've been in an airport or been somewhere else, you got the moving walkway. So it's not like an escalator going up. It's kind of the same thing, but it's just on the flat surface, and it's going whatever direction it's going, right? Um, what I think a lot of us are stuck on is a moving walkway going in the opposite direction. I think with a lot of things in life, we're essentially going against the current, but the current is speeding up. So this moving walkway that was going a certain direction or a certain speed 5 years ago has picked up speed. And so where we could have been like walking fast and staying still because our walk was matching the speed of the current, it was matching the speed of the walkway going in the opposite direction. Now, what we used to be able to do to stay still, we can't do that anymore because the current has picked up. It's like walking on a treadmill, right? If the treadmill is set to a speed of 3, then you have to match that speed. And if you don't match that speed and you're going slower, the treadmill will kick you off of it. If you're going faster than the speed, you'll run into the front of the treadmill. So you got to match the speed in order to stay inside the window of the treadmill. So you don't fall off, but you don't run into the front. And I feel like we've got this ever increasing speed of technology, of competition, and just our society, right? And for a lot of us, depending on which treadmill we're on, not only is it going a little bit faster over time, but it's also inclining a little bit over time, especially the less action that we take, right? The less implementation we have of the current information we have, the harder it is to implement later, right? So if you have information right now and you're not implementing it right now, when you get the courage to implement the now information later, it'll be harder. The treadmill will be going faster and it will be more inclined because the time to implement the now information is now. That's the time. And you can't learn from the future information what you could if the now information was implemented. So what I mean by that is if you have information now, you implement it, you learn from it, you fall down with it, you get bumped and bruised and scraped up, and then the later information will actually mean more to you, and it'll be more valuable to the lessons that you can pull out of it because you're implementing the now information. But if you're not implementing the now information, it's probably because you didn't implement the back then information. And then we just get stuck in this information constipation mode, right? Man, we're so constipated. Sorry for that visual or that image or that analogy, but it's the truth. And if we are constipated on the information that we had back then, which causes us to be blocked now, the last thing we should do is take on more information. We got to create a flow. We have to create a flow of information, implementation, lessons learned, information, implementation, lessons learned. And a lot of the information that we need is not from anybody else or anything else. There comes a certain point where the most valuable information you need is from yourself, but from yourself in motion, not from yourself in thought. You don't get very much information out of yourself in thought. You get information that you need out of yourself in motion. And so I would say that for the most part, most of you, because you listen to, these trainings, most of you are beyond the point where you still need information from thought, information from your thought or information from other people's thoughts. Most of you need information that can only be created by and understood from not just motion, but ignorant motion. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to self-create this information that can only be created through ignorant motion, and really probably failure can only be created through the failure, right? The information that we need to take us to another level is only going to come from failure that this current capacity has, or the inadequacy of this current capacity to get us to that next level. So if we're not creating what we need to create in terms of results or self-love or enjoyment, fulfillment, happiness, whatever, there's an inadequacy in the recipe that we have. And the only way to highlight what that is and what we need to learn is to actually fall on our face. Like there's a required element of us falling on our face in embodied learning. And I'm going to come back to what we said we're going to talk about, I promise, but I'm just laying some of the foundation. Like, how do you actually create content? If you're interested in this transformational journey for yourself and for other people, you're signing up for a somatic journey. What that means is an embodied journey. Somatic just essentially means of the body. You're signing up for this journey where you got to learn a bunch of stuff. You got to, check in with yourself, and you're going to be dealing with your confidence, and you're going to be dealing with your self-esteem, and you're going to be dealing with triggers and traumas and decisions and beliefs and all those things that make up the inner game, right? And the inner game is the only game of liberation. It's the only one. The outer game, the external validation, the game of overcompensation, that can only lead to more restriction. It can only lead there. The only way to liberate yourself is from the inside out. It's the only way. Like true liberation, like take your coat off, right? Take your armor off. That liberating feeling can only come from the inside. And the most common thing that we hear when people feel a shift is that they feel lighter. The energy feels lighter. The colors feel lighter. That can only come from the inside out. It can only come from removing something that we've been carrying around for a long time. But most people that are really struggling are continually trying to find ways to cover themselves up. How can I cover up my inadequacies? How can I cover up my humanity? How can I outperform the recipe that I'm following? And that's why, people struggle. So let's get back to the concept of creating content, because everything that I just explained is the answer. Actually, it is the answer. The way to keep creating content, which is required nowadays, is from the inside out. It's the only way to continually create content. It's from the inside out, to stay in the work. So I said a little while ago that 15 years ago or so, there was this phrase called content is king. And that was in the earlier days of the internet, the earlier days of online learning, where people were exposed to content in a way that they never seen before, right? This online vault of information. And then marketers got involved, and marketers found a way to speed up the process of sales. And so it went from content is king to sales is king. how quickly can I take money from people's wallets? And that's not what it used to be like. It used to be like, how much can I educate people? But the education was novel. This is really critical. And I can feel like just a level of clarity in my mind is about to come out that I don't know that I've had before. Back then, the education was novel. So it was new. So people had these things called blogs. Like, what is that? What are blogs? And then video came about, and then live video came about, and all these novel ways to interact with information was what led a lot of our exploration. It was truly like we were exploring new territory. So anybody that was on the front end of that from a content perspective, anybody that was on the front end was a trailblazer, right? It's new. The people that were doing videos, the people that were first on live videos, the people that were first to sell on Facebook or first to sell on Instagram or whatever. And so then the pendulum started to swing towards sales. And then it was all about funnels. Got to have a funnel. Got to have a funnel to capture information, and then you got to sell them something right away. And then once everybody started thinking about funnels, thinking about sales from the novel information, then all the focus went there. Because if I'm going to sell something, then I want to sell something higher, faster. So then we just started this like feverish focus on more, faster. How can I do more? How can I do it faster? More, faster, more, faster, more, faster. This microwave mentality that we have. And then people started to sell more, faster. And then we wanted more, faster, easy, right? More, faster, easier. Sell me how I can get more, how I can do it faster, and how I can be easy. And then the mind just started craving. It was like this lust of more, faster, easier, which I think is the runaway masculine energy. It's like, how can I attain? How can I chase? How can I obtain? How can I accumulate? And if I'm in accumulation mode, I want to accumulate more, faster, easier. So then people started selling programs, and they might as well have been called more, faster, easier. You know, how to make money without sales, how to build a business without marketing. I've seen ads like that. How to build a business without sales or marketing. What? But they're selling what people are hoping is true. Because people are like, I want to build a business. I just don't like sales and marketing. Oh, okay. I have a program. It's called How to Build a Business Without Sales and Marketing. More, faster, easier. And now I think we're at that point where that has spun so quickly for a long time that we're now exhausted of it. Not entirely, because people are still buying that stuff. And I think there will be people that will continue to buy a version of more, faster, easier forever, because that actually appeals to the unconscious mind. And I think the closer we are to the beginning of our journey, the more susceptible we are to more, faster, easier, because we haven't been burned yet. More, faster, easier is just a disaster waiting to happen when it comes to building something, right? And you're building a business, you're building confidence, you're building certainty, you're building yourself, you're building an experience for other people. You shouldn't be looking for shortcuts when you are building something. You can look for more efficiency, but not shortcuts. Don't take the most important ingredients out of the recipe when you're building. And sometimes in order to become more efficient, you have to do something less efficiently. And then more efficiently actually becomes more valuable. Like, man, I used to walk this path and it would take me 30 minutes to walk that path. And then I learned of a new path and now I can walk it in 22 minutes. The only reason the 22 minutes has value is because it's coming down from 30. But if somebody says, before you ever even walked that 30-minute journey, if somebody says, I can help you get to wherever it is you want to go in 22 minutes, your mind will go, oh, amazing. You can help me not experience that extra 8 minutes. You can help me avoid all the pain. But 22 minutes is the most you've ever done. So it doesn't have the same value to it. And then if you experience the 22-minute version, then you're going to want to find the 15-minute version. And now you're on a shortcut path. You're not on a more efficient path. You're not on an efficiency. I was going to say scavenger hunt. It's not scavenger hunt. You're not on an efficiency journey. You're on a shortcut journey. And those sound similar to the unconscious ego, but they're wildly different. And then you can actually find ways to do it more and better and faster, but from an efficiency standpoint, not from an avoidance standpoint. And that's what a lot of people are doing. So the people that are in the shortcut mentality are much more likely to not believe they have a lot of content to teach, because the mind is not in the mode of self-generating. It's not working from the inside out. It's working from the outside in. And when you think about from the outside in, it's hard to fathom self-sustainability, because the mind is working in external sustainability. I need somebody else to tell me. I need somebody else to feed me. I need somebody else to fuel me. As long as you need somebody or something else for your sustainability, you're in danger. Because now the questions that you're going to ask are external questions. Now it's going to be, what's the right thing? What's the next best thing that I can consume, that I can purchase, that I can follow? But as soon as you recognize that the most powerful sustainability comes from within, now you still might be interested in external improvements to your self-sustainability, but you're not reliant on, you're not dependent on others, whatever the others are. And that's the difference. And that's how you can go from sustainability more efficiently. Or I didn't say it the way I wanted to say it. That's how you can go from non-sustainability and shortcut mentality to self-sustainability plus efficiency mentality. And again, they look and sound quite similar, actually, more, faster, easier. But where are they coming from? Are they coming from a place of overcompensation, trying to avoid, trying to hide? Or are they coming from a place of experience, trying to get more efficient? Those are wildly different, wildly different. So when it comes to creating content, here's the best way to create content. Pay attention to your own experience. I want you to create content from the inside out. I want you to create content from you being in the work. It's like you telling somebody how the water is from the outside and trying to get them to go in, like trying to push them in the water that you're not in, versus being in the water and saying, come on in. It feels good. I mean, think about that. That's a really simple analogy. I mean, have you ever wanted to jump in a swimming pool or jump in a lake or some other water and you're wondering how cold it is? It's not easy to get the mind to jump into a body of water when you don't know the temperature. But if you had somebody else that was already in there and they say, it's actually not that bad, it feels good in here. I mean, I can't see your hands, but like, let me know if that's easier for you to actually jump in. It's because you have somebody who's in there already and they're telling you about their experience from the inside and you'll trust it more. But if they say, I don't think it's all that cold, go ahead, jump in. Yeah, right. Like you go first. Ever been on the edge of a pool? Like, okay, on the count of 3, let's jump in, right? 1, 2, and then neither one of you jump because you don't trust actually what's in there. But if somebody is in the water saying, I've done this, I'm in here, I feel the current, I feel the temperature, let me tell you about what I'm experiencing right now, then it's much easier for people to jump in. And the same thing goes for this industry and this work when you're teaching content from the inside of your journey. Now, there are still muscles to develop, how to title your stuff, how to actually structure it, how long to teach, how to teach. You're going to have to find a rhythm, but the rhythm can only be found in ignorant motion. It can only be found that way. That's the information I was talking about earlier, where the only information that's relevant is information from your experience. It's experiential information, not expectational information. The ego works on expectational information, information that will inform what you can expect. And that's only relevant and helpful for a very short period of time. And most of us are well beyond that. So we got to go from expectational information to experiential information. And then that's how we become more self-sustainable, because the information that we learn from our experience then informs what we should do next. But information that we learn from our expectations doesn't necessarily inform what we should do next. It just tells us what we should do to try to avoid failure. And expectational information actually keeps us out of action because it's trying to protect us from failing on a journey that requires failure. Like, okay, teach me how to swim without getting wet. No, I can't do that. But our expectations are trying to prepare for a failure journey without failing. And you just can't do that. But let me just highlight this idea of content. The world is demanding content now again, but not from a novel standpoint. Content is not novel anymore. Now the world demands content, but it's starting to demand it. And not the world, but the humans in the world are starting to demand their content from authenticity, not from technology. We already done that. Like Facebook Live, there's a million of them. Every single day is a million Facebook Lives. Nobody's excited about a Facebook Live anymore. They need to know what's happening on there. They need to know if there's realness inside the content. So once upon a time, the content itself was novel. And then people started selling the content. They started using the content to sell quickly. Now people are demanding to know what's inside the content. The existence of the content, who cares? The attempt to sell the content, tired of that. Now I want to know what's inside the content. And I want to know what's inside the creator of the content. That is what I believe is the new frontier. So it's not technology. It's not really new anything. It's not delivery anymore. It's who has the guts to be real. That's the new frontier. Who has the guts to be real? Because we're tired of the fakeness. We're tired of being taken advantage of. Who has the guts to be real? But you got to understand, if you want to be a part of that frontier, well, before I say that, the cool thing is you don't need any training on how to be real. You just need self-permission. This isn't a skill set. Authenticity is not a skill set. In order to be authentic, you just need to give yourself permission to be authentic. You don't need to learn how to be authentic. You just need permission to be authentic. And I think that's really critical to understand, because a lot of people are trying to solve the wrong problems. So I want that to be an empowering message and encouraging, that you don't need any new skills. You just need to give yourself permission. So if you have the courage to be part of this new frontier, you have to understand that we are literally creating a new playing field. And it's like an entirely different sport. So we were playing this one sport. It doesn't matter that, what this sport is. The sport itself doesn't fit into this analogy, at least now. Maybe it'll evolve to where the sports matter. But let's say you were learning how to play the sport of baseball. You learn the rules, you learn the motions, you learn the skills, all that stuff. What I'm telling you is this next sport is hockey. Like, all the rules of baseball, like, they don't matter in this one. And even if the channels, even if the platforms, the social media channels, even if all the trainings and all that stuff was really successful in the sport of baseball, that doesn't mean any of it will necessarily transfer to the sport of hockey. Like, you got to be willing to let all of it go. You have to be willing to sell your glove and your ball and your bat, because you don't need those over here. It's different tools. It's a different surface. It's different equipment. It's different rules. It's different language. It's completely different. But if you're trying to fit the rules of baseball into the new rink of hockey, into this new playing field, you're going to be frustrated. And my advice is that you don't how do I want to put this? Don't continue strengthening the muscles you don't need. Don't continue learning the rules of a game that's dying. Don't dust on the Titanic. It's going down. Save that energy and use it to build inside the new arena. And what I mean by that is, the rules that people have been succeeding by won't work when the humans out-evolve those rules. When the rules that have been working for the last 10 years, 15 years, 3 years, If you get really good at those rules, but then you don't catch the fact that the humans evolved beyond those rules, then it doesn't matter how good you are at baseball. Everybody else is now at the hockey rink. And you're like, but I've been working on this. Like, I got my swing down. I know how to throw a curveball. Like, awesome. The game has changed. But I want you to know the game is actually so much more powerful and so much more meaningful and actually more simple this way. It's just new. That's it. It's just new. And you don't need skills as much as you need support. I think we're going to move from skill-based training to, it's not even really training as much. I think we're going to move from the currency of success and growth is going to move from skills to support. What I mean by that is you're going to recognize that if you want to grow yourself and your business, you don't need skills as much as you need support. That doesn't mean skills are not important. It's just that you recognize support is more important. But we've been told for ever, really, that in order to succeed, we need skills based on information. And I just think the entire thing is going to change, you guys. Because humans are going to demand authenticity and realness more than they're going to demand information. So you're not going to be able to hide behind information anymore because the humans are going to stop buying it. Now, we're not there yet. Humans are still going to buy this for a long time. But I'd rather you be on the front end, right? Like, if there are muscles that you're going to need 3 years from now for the opportunities that you're going to grow into, then the best time to start was 3 years ago, but the next best time to start is now. If it's going to take 3 years to build the muscles that are going to attract the opportunities that will blow your mind, those 3 years are not going to be measured on the calendar. Those 3 years are going to be measured on the clock. So it doesn't matter if 3 years from now on the calendar in 2024, you're still standing. What matters is what did you do between now and then? And the other good news is if you have 3 years worth of lessons to learn, you can actually get in motion and speed up the time on the calendar with how much you are committed to the time on the clock. That right there. If you want to make things go faster, go harder. That's how. You want to make things go faster, go in deeper. If you want to make things go faster, remove your expectations of how fast they go. There is a way to make things go faster, but it's an efficiency based on being in the work. And that is what I've learned is what opens up the channel of content. Here's the best way to teach people. Tell them what you've done. Tell them what you've experienced. Tell them about those bumps and bruises. Tell them about what you expected versus what you experienced. Tell them about your embodied traveling, your embodied journey, not your intellectual journey. Don't tell them what you think, tell them what you know. Because you know what? They're tired of failing or struggling based on what they think. So they're not as interested in what other people think. And they're also tired of people selling to them what they think. And they're tired of buying things that appealed to what they thought, but didn't actually give them an embodied experience. They're tired of all of that stuff. So don't tell them what you think, tell them what you know. And don't sell them expectations, sell them experiences. Sell them your experiences based on their experiences. And or sell them their experiences based on your experiences. And I think that shift right there, going from expectations to experiences, that's the key. That's the key. I'll give you an example here. So for those of you that don't know, we did 3 weeks in a row of these online intensives. We just decided we want to give people an experience of this. We want to give people a half day, started out as 4 hours, ended up as 7.5 hours. We wanted to give, so it was really a full day. We wanted to give people an experience of the work that we do. Like, all right, you don't believe us, or you've never heard of me before, and you just want to get an experience. Great. Here's the experience. And we gave people a full day experience of elite coaching intensive. That's what it was called. And we brought it. Like, we didn't want to hold back. We didn't think about what do we need to withhold from people so that they'll buy. And our intention was these intensives were just like, less than a month ago. And we're offering a 5-day course. It's not easy to sell a 5-day course, especially when there's only like 2 weeks, to decide if you want to do it. So it's not an easy sell, but our intention was, if you want to continue on with us, fantastic. This is an experience, right? We're going to give you an appetizer. And then if you want to eat the whole meal, great. But if you don't want to eat the whole meal for whatever reason, we want you to leave full. So this appetizer is going to be a full meal. And I'm actually really proud that we brought that. Like, and we've had a bunch of people say, I can't do ECCP. It's too expensive. I don't have the time off of work, or for whatever reason, or I feel good. I don't want another certification program. But man, that day changed my life. And that actually makes me more proud than the people that go, I'm in ECCP, that the non-purchases make us more proud than the purchases. That thought just landed on me right now, with some tears. And 25 people have said yes since then. Right around 25 people have said yes. And the reason I'm telling you that is because we just served our asses off. That's it. That's what we did. Like, what did we do? We served our asses off, and we taught our faces off, right? And we just did everything that we could do to give people an experience. And what I'm telling you is, I believe going forward, humans will stop valuing expectations, because it's expectations that burn humans. Humans are going to start valuing more experiences. Now, only the people that have conviction and confidence and certainty will have the guts to give experiences. And so I believe that this is an opportunity to separate yourself. If you have the guts to give people experiences and then say, do you want more where that came from? Now, you don't have to do one-day events. Depending on where you are in your journey, you don't have to do one-day events. Like, we've got a 5-day course to offer, but I didn't have 5 days out of the gate. It took me 10 years in my career to have a 5-day event. So don't follow my details. Just catch the wisdom that I'm giving you based on 15 years of experience, and then apply it to wherever you are in your journey. And for you, it could just be, let's get on the phone and I'm going to give you an experience of 30 minutes of my coaching skills. And if you like it, then continue. And if you don't, then I hope your life was changed. I think it's those people that have the guts in the coaching industry, that have the guts to say, experience my stuff because I know the value of this stuff. You know how I know the value of this stuff? Because I'm teaching it from the inside. That's how I know. I know the value because I'm talking to you from inside of the work. I'm not talking to you from outside of the work. And if I'm talking to you from inside the work, I will value the work more, and you will feel the value of that work more. So I believe the new frontier in the coaching industry especially will be the people that put in the time, put in the effort, put in the intention, remove the easy, the faster, the more expectational, ego-driven desires, roll up their sleeves, and become damn good coaches that can actually change people's lives and then give people an experience of a transformation. That's the new frontier of personal development coaches, in my opinion. That's the new frontier. And I'm seeing it change. And I'm telling you, from the vantage point that I have, if I could predict the future, I'm telling you to get on that boat. I'm telling you to get on the boat that's full of teachers, not full of salespeople. Because the boat that's full of salespeople, they will consume each other. They will compete against each other. They will get good at beating each other up. They will consume each other. They will throw each other overboard. And that's not the boat you want to be on anyway. This hyper competitive, try to outsell people. Don't try to outsell salespeople. Out-teach them. And it's not really about even competing against them at all. Just teach the students who want to be taught. Don't sell to humans who want to learn. Teach to the humans who want to learn. But it's a different game, you guys. It's a different game. Reach out to us. If you want a free consultation, reach out to us. We do free consultation. We want to give you an experience, right? We actually do the things that we teach because we've learned what works for us. And I think that's a really critical component. There are ways to succeed more. I'm just going to speak from my personal experience right now. There are ways to succeed more financially that I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I succeeded with. Because it doesn't feel good. So a real big element of your success needs to be, does it feel good? And trust me, you will be a happier human earning $40,000 a year, feeling good about what you do, really, truly feeling significant about what you do, than earning $400,000 a year, feeling trapped. Trapped by the pressure, trapped by the expectations. That's not the way to feel good about what you're doing. You have to be in the middle of your business. Like, your business, the strategy that you create needs to come from you and only you. Like, that's the strategy. We need to build something that protects you. The best way to create content is go, whoa, Look at what just came up on my coaching session, or look at what just came up as a coach when I'm coaching other people. When I'm coaching people, I'm constantly coming up with ideas. 1.5 hour coaching session for me is good for 5 video ideas easily, because we're talking about relationships and we're talking about self-esteem and we're talking about like all these concepts. And it's like, oh, I could do a whole video on that. I could do a video on that. I could do a video on that. When I was first starting out as a coach, I had so many notes on the side of my coaching tablets when I was just doing it on paper, pencil, or pencil and paper. And that's all I needed for content, because I was in the work and then I was also getting coached. And that is the best place to teach from, because you're teaching from the trenches. Right? Don't sell from the sidelines. Teach from the trenches. Now, if you like this video, check out that video where we discuss how to get your prospects to pay attention to you. You know, part of the, I say, brilliance of the best marketers is that they just pay attention to what works, not what should work, just what works.